Yes, guys, hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the Game Week 9 Deadline live stream. Hope you all are doing very well today. I haven't been live for the last 2 game weeks, it feels, so it's so nice to be here on a lovely, wet Friday evening, wherever you are in the world. Let me know in the chat. I think we've got a lot to talk about today. I'm going to be honest with you. We got the Gabriel injury news that has come out of nowhere from the press conferences. I think we were all anticipating a stressful deadline being Friday, but not one that also required us to think about Gabriel. That felt like one of those that was just a lock in our teams. So, got to talk about the Gabriel situation. We'll talk about my team because I got 4 free transfers. I originally was planning a bench boost. We'll talk about whether that's still going to happen or not. So, game week 9 was always geared to be probably one of the biggest game weeks of my season so far. But so much has happened over the last 24 hours or so that has kind of derailed it a little bit. So, I'm looking forward to talking through all those sort of things, but importantly, answering all of your questions as well. Because, of course, we got like just over an hour and a half until the deadline. So it's really important that if you have questions, you get them on the stream. Or at least have a little bit of think about your team over this period. Because if you don't, you're going to blink and you're going to miss the deadline. So here's your pre-warning. It is a Friday deadline. Please do not be missing it at all. Ollie, hope you do well, mate, as always. News on Gabriel. Okay, so the situation for Gabriel, that those that have missed it, obviously Gabriel has been bought by pretty much everybody going into game week 9. I think 500,000 transfers in. He ended up going off with a slight knock off the back of the Atletico Madrid game in the Champions League, and he hasn't trained since, which is not ideal preparation, of course, for game week 9. The other issue is, if this was last season, I would just sit here and say to you, do not worry about it. Arteta plays Gabriel in every single fixture, but he's got options now. We're speaking about the fullback situation with White and Timber at right back, Lewis Skelly and Calaflori at left back, but centre back positions, we've got Mosquera who can play there. Calaflori is a centre back, so we can see a situation right now where, yes, Crystal Palace is a tough team, and of course Arsenal want to keep the momentum that they do have, but if there is risk of Gabriel, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Mosquera played alongside Saliba or Calaflori went into left side of centre-back and Lewis Skelly played left-back. Arteta has options this season which he didn't have previously. So I'm seeing a lot of people on social media saying, it's Arteta, he'll play Gabriel no matter what. I think he'd done this in previous seasons, and this is what derailed Arsenal's season with both Saliba and with Gabriel. So I would like to think if there is a doubt on Gabriel, Arteta actually doesn't risk him. And I'm a Chelsea fan saying that, but that will show the evolution of Arteta as a manager and the trust that he can put in the rest of his squad, hence why they've spent so much money. So for me, if you're in a position with Gabriel, and we'll talk about him in my team, if you own him, you keep him, of course. You start him, he starts or he plays 0 minutes. Simple as that. Make sure you have your bench in place and in the correct order. If you're looking to buy, I would avoid. Don't think it's worth the risk right now. You can wait one more week. And would I be surprised if Palace were to score against Arsenal with the way that Palace have been playing against everybody? No, I wouldn't. So that is what the kind of general thought process around Gabriel is. Jonah, hope well, mate. I'm doing well myself. Start 2 of Reinders, Gui, and Forrest Anderson. For me, I would definitely be starting Mark Gui because I think it's the only time you'll be able to start him, because following on from the game week 10, Delap looks like he'll be back. We, of course, have got João Pedro who can play in the 9. So I think Gui has to start. And then really it's a toss-up between Reinders and Forrest Anderson. Just because Forrest played on Thursday night, I'm going to lean towards Reinders myself as the pick there. Ollie, I'm in England, but it's dry where I am. Ollie, I wish it was dry here. It is chucking it down right now in the southwest. Digaloo saying, start Esteve or Van de Ven. Well, of course, Burnley, with their fixture away against Wolves, who don't score many goals, and Van de Ven coming off the back of their European game, I probably would lean slightly more towards Esteve than that of Van de Ven. Mustafi is saying, hi there, who to bench? Van de Ven or Munoz, Roos or Dubravka? Well, if I own Munoz, it's very difficult because, of course, they are playing up against Arsenal, but if I paid that much for Munoz, I would always be starting him. If you had a better defender, there might be an argument here, but for me, Munoz would be the choice there. And then Roos or Dubravka, very, very difficult. I probably would lean towards the home fixture and therefore Roos in that scenario. Michael said, Jack Grealish, one to watch. Bowen as well. I will keep an eye on that, Michael. And Benny said, hey, Nacho, how are you? Greetings from Australia. I imagine it is much warmer where you are right now, Benny, than the southwest of England. I am sure of it. Florentine Peter saying, hi, Nacho, is it worth Pedro Portas, Senesi this week or roll? Wildcard in game week 13. Well, of course, Senesi has been fantastic this season. And Bournemouth are up against a Nottingham Forest team that are rejuvenated, but played on Thursday night. I think it's going to be a close affair, this game, much more than what it would have been with Ange in charge. I think Senesi's starting to get expensive enough where we got to question whether he is actually worth it now. I think he's great. And if you're wildcarded in game week 13, then he is, of course, a great pick. If we just bring up the fixtures right now for Bournemouth in general, and hopefully you guys can see this all okay. Let me know in the chat if you can. We got the fixtures here for basically game week 8 up until game week 15, I believe. My eyesight's shocking. Let me just get it up for myself. Game week 16. So Bournemouth's fixtures right now. Forest at home, playable Senesi. But then I would argue Senesi against Man City and Villa aren't the best. But then between game week 12 and, of course, game week 14, really good option for your team. So yes, I like the Senesi move. But do I think he is huge value at 5 million over the next 3 game weeks? Probably not on that scenario, mate. So maybe rolling the transfer is actually a bit more of a preference on that one. Scott, hope we do well, mate. A regular, as always, put a super chat. Always so generous, mate. I do appreciate that massively. Hi, mate. Pope, Senesi, Gabriel, Timber. So Senesi, Gabriel, Timber. Of course, we had the doubts on Gabriel. Semenyo, Ndai, Bruno, Caicedo, Reinders. Gyökeres, Haaland. With a bench of Dubravka, I would play Pope over Dubravka myself. Richards, again, not a great fixture, but perfectly fine to come in for Gabriel if he doesn't play. Van der Ven and Igor Jesus, 1 million in the bank, 1 transfer. Any advice? Okay, so with 1 free transfer and 1 million in the bank, you do have a bit of flexibility, of course. Not enough in the bank, I believe, to do Reinders to Enzo. So we've got to rule that out straight away. So in your team, I think in terms of defenders, you don't need to make a transfer. I think Van der Ven could easily come in for Gabriel or that of Richard. So don't be concerned too much about the Gabriel injury that we are worried about, of course. With 1 free transfer, we're going to rule out the Gyökeres to Saka flip-flop move. I don't think that is worth it at all. So really, if you're happy to run the slight risk of Reinders minutes, then I probably would roll the transfer. Give yourself some flexibility in game week 10 because you might want to move towards Saka. You might want to move towards some Crystal Palace players. And in order to do those moves, I think game week 10 just allows you to do that a bit more than what we're in right now. So I think it's fine. I would roll the transfer in your scenario, Scott. And thanks once again for the super chat. That's massively appreciated on that one. Keep putting your questions in, guys. Always appreciate it. I will be answering them. OP Talent saying, is Reinders minutes risk to Paqueta Pens fixtures a waste of a free transfer? Exact money can't reach. I don't think that's a transfer for this week. West Ham look pretty poor. I want to see some sustainability in that West Ham team, some actual consistent results before even considering their options. I think going Paqueta for me doesn't make a lot of sense at all on that one. And GV saying Gabriel starts or not is the fear as the defenders on the bench are Rodon and the injured Anderson. It is a must-win game for West Ham. It is a must-win game for West Ham, but does it mean they're going to win it? I don't know really. I think Rodon as a replacement for Gabriel is absolutely fine. I think the Leeds defensive coverage will actually be quite high with auto subs this game week. So I think it's probably worth me putting up my team right now, just to give you a bit of context on where I'm at in terms of my own team. So let's get that up on the screens for you right now to just give you a little bit of an indicator. So a bit of context, I've got 4 free transfers available to me. Like, I've got so many transfers. And I was planning on the most gun-ho moves ever. And I still could do that, really. You know, Gyökeres to Kruppi Jr. I could be doing something like Stack to Saka, downgrading Tarkowski to Keane, doing all these big moves in order to bring in Saka. But right now, going up against Crystal Palace, do I think it's a fixture that is going to be full of goals? I don't know. I think the 3 goals that Bournemouth scored have slightly rocked me a little bit on whether Crystal Palace are slightly fatigued, possibly, with everything going on, or whether that game was just a crazy game and it's one of those that's going to go down as a great game this season. I'm not too sure, but I don't think there's enough evidence right now, especially with the penalties, for me to be using all 4 of my transfers to move away from Gyökeres and go towards Bukayo Saka. I think I actually want to use one more game week worth of information and just understand in game week 10, okay, I've given my time with Gyökeres, Saka is the one. I'm going to get it done early doors in preparation for game week 10, where Arsenal have some good fixtures. Because we have to remind ourselves that the fixtures are good for Arsenal coming up. They're not, I think, as good as maybe others are making out, but they are strong. Of course, we've got Burnley and Sunderland back-to-back. Then we've got the Spurs game with Chelsea, and then they've got Brentford, Villa, Wolves, and Everton. So really, apart from Chelsea away, I would say. So really for me, with my team, it comes down to a bit of a decision of what actually is the priority for me. So Reinders is a problem. Gyökeres is a problem. Gabriel is a problem, but I'm not going to sell him. And Tarkowski eating up a lot of minutes. And of course, Anderson's injured. I was planning on bench boosting this week. However, with the red flag on Anderson, with the yellow flag on Gabriel, I don't think the bench boost is really worth it at all. I could have addressed the Anderson situation, but there's no world I want to sell Gabriel. So if I'm bench boosting with 14 players, I just don't think it is justifiable. So the bench boost is out the window, and I can't lie, I'm kind of glad. It was giving me a bit of a headache. So even though I've got 4 free transfers, and I can easily get to somebody like an Enzo at Chelsea, I'm kind of tempted to roll my transfer. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the actual 11 looks fine. And if Gabriel doesn't play, Reinders comes in as first sub for him, which is perfectly fine once again. And I actually want to look at the fixtures right now and understand what are we really missing out on. So Leeds, West Ham, I've got a bit of Leeds coverage and defence. I don't really want anything else in that game. Chelsea versus Sunderland, I've got João Pedro. I don't have Enzo, where a lot of people are going to. But once again, I'm not as bullish on Enzo as other content creators out there. And I'm a Chelsea fan, by the way. I think he's great. I think he's getting so much more praise than what he basically should be getting this praise before, and it's only now he's getting it. He's been playing really well. So I think he's great. But could I see Sunderland doing okay against Chelsea? Yes. Then in this situation, we've got Newcastle, Fulham. I would love a bit of Newcastle, but I just can't really justify going there. Got Man United. I'm not touching Liverpool right now. Got my triple Arsenal. And again, I don't know whether it's worth me pivoting towards it. And then in the situation here, Villa, Man City, got my Bournemouth, Wolves, Burnley, Everton, Spurs. So I actually think this is a week for me to gain more information. I'm going to be honest with you. It's so damn boring. But rolling the transfer for me is currently what I'm debating. I'm probably more like 75% sure of doing. And I'll show you in a minute what I could do with my transfers in game week 10, because that is going to give me 5 free transfers, loads of flexibility, and importantly, a few fixture swings that I might want to target. So I'll leave that right now for my team. We'll go into a bit more of a deep dive in a bit in terms of exactly what my long-term plans could look like. Because if you're going to roll a transfer, you've got to at least have some reasoning behind it for a future game week to justify it. So let's take a look at some of the questions. Make sure I haven't missed loads. If I've missed it, please don't spam the chat. Just maybe drop it in again and I will try to get to it. So, should I buy Gakpo or Enzo, or just start Xhaka? Defcon Monster Andrew was asking. So, again, how do I rank those this game week? Well, I probably would rank them Gakpo 1, Enzo 2, Xhaka 3. I probably would. And it comes down to how does this really look for your team, because I don't really know who you're looking to sell. So let me know who you're looking to sell, Andrew, firstly. Sam Edits is saying, good afternoon, Nacho. Who would you bench out of Tarkowski, Van der Ven, Senesi or Rodon? Well, let's work backwards here. Who would I definitely start? Well, I'm going to be honest with you straight away. I think it's Van der Ven for me benching. I'm just going to put it out as Van der Ven. Thoughts on Gordon? I like Gordon, but he's of a price where you've really got to be certain you want him. And I think a lot of people jumped on him quite early without really going into a lot of detail on it. I do think he's a good pick. The fixtures are great. If we look at him here, Fulham, West Ham, Brentford, City even at home's not horrendous. Everton, Spurs, Burnley, Sunderland. Some really, really good fixtures. And it also begs the question with me rolling my transfer this week. While others are pivoting towards Krupa Jr. and then putting the money in the midfield, If we see another great game week from Valdemar, maybe going to him in game week 10 is the right move. I think going to him this game week's great, to be honest with you. I think Valdemar is the one. I'd prefer him over Gordon, and importantly, he's cheaper than Gordon. Game week 10 wildcard, Michael saying, that totally depends on your squad. I can't really put an opinion on that one because I don't really know what your team looks like. Benny said on 5 free transfers, Tarkowski plus Reinders to Rodon and Enzo. Already have Caicedo and would need to bench him possibly, or Gyökeres. I'd bench Caicedo over Gyökeres myself. If you own Gyökeres and you're paying 9 million, if you're not starting him, my recommendation is sell him. Do I start Gay? There's too many Guis and Gays in this game. Do I start Guehi or Rodon? I would start Rodon. I think that's quite an easy one there. Edvin said, hi mate, my current bench is Kudus, Anderson. I don't know which Anderson that is. Lacroix. Thinking of doing JP and Kudus to Gui and Fernandez, which would demote Van Dijk or Juve to the bench. So I don't love that move personally. I'm not a huge fan of that move myself, mate. I think there are better moves out there. Should I play Rodon, Juve, or buy Senesi for a hit? I would not be buying Senesi for a hit, no. I would just play Rodon. In that scenario, I would just be playing Rodon 100%. Sorry, I'm just double checking. I haven't got anyone at my door right now. Give me a second. Sorry. All good. Who to bench between Eze, Virgil, Bowen, or Munoz? Of that lot, very difficult. I probably would be benching. Probably Munoz, or probably Munoz because I rate Arsenal defensively so highly. Is Caicedo to Enzo good or too sideways? I think Enzo is better than that to Caicedo, but of course it completely changes the structure of your team. A 5.5 million midfielder to a 6.7 million midfielder. It's not sideways. It's significant enough to actually change the kind of landscape of your team. So you've got to ask yourself, is that money going to the right place, really? Do I think Enzo's better? Yes, over the next 4 game weeks, definitely. Dan, happy Friday, Nacho. I'm close to winning my monthly league. Do I transfer in Cucurella for Vardial or Vicario to Sanchez to cover off the Chelsea defence? Well, Dan, if you're in a mini league, I think it comes down to who are the ones chasing you and how best are you going to be able to cover them off. So, for example, if somebody has... Well, you are going for Chelsea regardless, so I'm assuming second place has Chelsea coverage. I think Cucurella starts, definitely. So it comes down to who do I prefer? Vardial in his fixture, which is away against Villa, of course, or Vicario against... I don't know the situation on Vardial. Did he play for Man City? Let me quickly check. Sorry, I wasn't too clued up on Man City's team selection over the weekend. They had, in defence... Okay, Vardial started. So I like Vardial. I think he's a good pick. I probably would do the Vicario to Sanchez move in that scenario. Do I start... I've covered that one. I like Gakpo as an option. I do like him. He is quite expensive though, but I think his minutes have been fantastic. Like, he's started 7 of the last 8. He's been really, really solid. Sorry, chat, I'm miles behind here. I'm trying to play a bit of catch up. How are the Newcastle fixtures of the next 4 to 6 game weeks for defence? Well, let me quickly show you that. This is, by the way, the Fantasy Football Scout ticker. So if we do 6 game weeks difficulty based on defence, Newcastle currently sit about mid here. Fulham, West Ham, then Brentford, Man City, Everton, Tottenham. Like, not too bad. It's fine. It's who you go to, really, isn't it? It's who you go to. Kudus to Enzo. Can't afford to upgrade Reinders to Enzo, so Kudus is the only option. Well, if we look at Spurs' fixtures here, Everton followed by Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal versus Enzo, Sunderland, Spurs, Wolves, Burnley. Yes, I do like that move. Who do you prefer as a pick, Gakpo or Enzo? I think Gakpo scores more points than Enzo, but I think the 1 million saving can go elsewhere in your team. Sagan, I'm going to have to block you in a minute, my friend. I've said this a few times. It would be Rodon on that one. I'm hoping there is no more in there. Covered that one. Just join the live. What are your plans? I will probably cover that off in 2 seconds. No, I'll cover off my stuff now. So let's get the plan up right now. So hopefully you guys can see this okay. Let me know in the chat if you can. This is how my team's looking. I originally was planning on bench boosting until we got the Gabriel injury news, which sounds like he is a slight doubt. And I've said this at the start of the stream. Whereas in previous seasons, Arteta had to play Gabriel because they had nobody else. Mosquera can play there and Calaflori can play there. So we have to change our mindset a little bit on Gabriel. I don't think it's a case of Gabriel, even if he's 60% fit, is going to play. I think Arteta's learned his lesson from basically blowing up players in previous seasons and playing them when they're not fully fit and rushing them back from injury. So I would like to think Arteta has learned his lesson a little bit, and hence why he spent so much money on the defence to really bolster it. So this is how my team's looking right now. I have a bench boost available, but I'm just going to forget about it because I've got the Anderson injury. If Gabriel's also ruled out, it just makes no sense. There will be loads of other times for me to bench boost. I'm certain of it. I've already got a playing goalkeeper. I'm happy just to run it through. So my team picks itself this week. And if Gabriel doesn't play, Reinders comes in as first sub. I am absolutely fine with that. So there's a few things we need to think about here. One, do I like the Gyökeres to Krupi Jr. and then the stack to Saka move? Because that is something that I can absolutely do. So bring in Krupi Jr. or whatever his name is, and then stack to Saka. And then you would probably start Saka over Rodon, and Rodon would come on as first sub. Now that move is absolutely strong. Like, I'm going to be honest, that is a really strong move. Brings in Krupi for the one game that I require him in, and it gives me strength and depth on the bench. It gives me Saka, who I think long-term, regardless, is the player that I want to own. And I don't think I'm losing out on too much. So that is absolutely a move that I could still make. And it gets rid of Stack, who, of course, is a bit of a problem for my team, regardless. So that is absolutely a move. The only problem with that move is that then I am committed. That is my forward line. I am going for Haaland, someone else, and then a cheapie, which I don't mind the thought process of that. But I do just think maybe there are still forwards to acquire. Voldemada, Mateta, for example. Sesko might actually become an option eventually. So that is one move that I am absolutely considering. So let me just put up a quick poll here. So guys, let me know in the poll. Would you make this transfer? And you can see it on the screen here. Gyökeres to Krupi Jr., stack to Saka. What are your thoughts on that? Someone just put Saka not pictured in training, which I don't personally believe. Am I wrong, guys? Let's have a look. Okay. Interesting. Saka not pictured in training. I don't read too much into that, I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. Okay, so bit of an update for those who don't know. Gabriel and Saka not in Arsenal training photos. A reminder that Arsenal play Sunday. I think that's fine. It's obviously not ideal, but it's fine. So yeah, I think this move's okay. Gyökeres to Krupa Jr. and then obviously the move here. But I still don't know whether Saka's actually desperate for this week. So I personally am ruling this move out, just to give you guys a heads up. Sorry about that. Bit of a waste of your time. So The next move is Enzo. That's the other big dog right now. I've spoken about it. I don't know if I absolutely love it, but Reinders would have to go to Enzo. And then I've got to free up 0.2 million somewhere in this team. In order to do that, there are a few cash cows. I have got Tarkowski can go, so I could sell Tarkowski to Keane. I could go to Richards. I could go to any of those sort of players if I wanted to. That's definitely an option. I could also move away from Anderson, but that doesn't really make a lot of sense for me. So I'm making transfers just to bring in Enzo, which I think's fine. But do I think he's absolutely desperate this week? Maybe I'm being a bit, I'm not thinking too much about Enzo, more than I should be, possibly. But for me, I don't know if I need to rip up my team for Enzo, or say rip it up, like do Tarkowski to Keane. That would work. And it gives me 0.8 million in the bank still, and I've got basically the same player. But, it's just a move that is fine, but I don't think it absolutely improves my team. So I think rolling makes sense here. And then going into game week 10, just to give you a bit of context on how my team would look. So I'd still have Reinders. And the good thing about Reinders is that he can give me options. I'll have 5 free transfers to address the Anderson situation. So let's say Anderson is actually available. Fingers crossed. My team would look like this. And when we look at the fixtures for game week 10, what don't I have? Well, I've got no Palace. So straight away, I need to address the Palace situation. So what we could do is start to move out Reinders to a Ismail Assar, or I sell João Pedro to Mateta. So something like that could easily happen. What else do I need to address? Well, possibly I need to actually look at what else am I going to bring in my team in future game weeks, because in game week 11, of course, we have got Arsenal against Sunderland. I need to make sure I've got the right assets by this game week. So a move that I could do in game week 10 is, finally pull the trigger and go to Saka. What I'm trying to say is, I don't think there's a transfer I need to make in game week 4. I don't think there is. Let me know what your thoughts are in the chat. Chat, let me know right now, what would you do? Let me put a quick poll, and then I promise you I will be back in the chat. I've just put a poll in. Three options. Roll the transfer, do Gyökeres to Krupi Jr. and then stack to Saka, or do the Reinders to Enzo and then downgrade Tarkowski to like a Keane, for example, something like that. And remember, I've already got 4 transfers. I will be moving to 5 if I went there. Right, let's get back in the chat where you guys have a little vote on that poll as well. So, is Burn the best maximum 5.5 million defender for 3 game weeks? Well, let's go to the fixtures a minute and understand what are the actual fixtures that you're going to be looking at from a defensive perspective. So, the next 3 game weeks, defensively, Arsenal are top, and at 5.5 million, you ain't getting anyone. Everton's sitting pretty there right now. I think Keane, sadly, has to be a consideration. I'm going to be honest with you. He has to be a consideration for you. Spurs at home off the back of Champions League, Sunderland and then Fulham. I think that's not too bad. I also think Forest's going to be back on the agenda with Sean Dyche in charge. And another reason why I kind of want to roll my transfers is I can move early doors on Forest. Maybe if we do see a return, a real sure performance against Bournemouth, maybe someone like a Murillo is going to be back on the menu before we know it. So Forest could go early, but I think it's probably too early in game week 9. So I think the answer is easy move is Michael Keane, super cheap. Newcastle, I don't mind, but when we look at their fixtures, Fulham, West Ham and Brentford, with West Ham and Brentford away, don't know if I love that as much. Considering starting Gui over Gabriel, am I mad? Good luck this week. If you own Gui, or Gui, however you want to pronounce it, I don't mind using him ahead of Gabriel. But of course, if Gabriel does play and they keep a clean sheet, with the buy-in that this happened, that's going to hurt you. That is going to hurt you. Would you start Reinders or Caicedo? Leaning on Caicedo. Yeah, I probably would go Caicedo, to be honest with you, which is mad. Yeah, Ollie, I did mention about you bench boosted, but of course, Gabriel has flown a bit of a curveball on that situation. I'm just looking right now. Yeah, Ollie, I think you can bench boost, but you are taking a risk with Gabriel. Otherwise, similar to myself, there's always going to be opportunities to bench boost. We have to remind ourselves that in game week 16, we get 5 free transfers for the African Cup of Nations. So you could just try and save loads of transfers, do a combination that in game week 15 allows you to bench boost. So if we look at the fixtures right now for game week 15, let me just take a look at game week 15 right now. So we've got City, Newcastle, Forest, Brighton, West Ham. Got some good fixtures, you know. Liverpool against Leeds. So in game week 15, it looks fantastic. Could you possibly put yourself in a situation where, you know, you kind of bench boost with squads like this? Maybe Brighton players against West Ham? I don't know, but there's going to be opportunities 100%. Guys, sorry, it's absolutely chucking it down outside. What a nightmare. What is going on in the southwest? We get the refresh chips in game week 19, I believe. Game week 19. Ellen Road is a fortress and West Ham can hope for a goalless draw, but looks unlikely. Let's hope for that with me starting Road on this week. Sarr or Dewsbury Hall to be on left side because of Gabriel. So I would start probably Dewsbury Hall over Sarr just because I rate Arsenal's defence so highly. Bench and die Anthony, Bruno, Semenyo, Caicedo or Gyökeres. Sorry, let me just refresh this a minute to get this back up. Where's the question gone? I've completely lost it. Bench and die Anthony, Bruno, Semenyo, Caicedo or Gyökeres. Well, it probably would be Anthony, to be honest with you. It would be Anthony. Gabriel update, not pitching in training, which we knew, and it sounds like he is going to be touch and go. You have to kind of read into what you will, because of course we are in a position right now where I think with them playing Sunday, you just got to make your own decisions, really. Yeah, supposedly Saka, Royce wasn't in the training either. So yeah, I don't really know what to read into that, to be honest with you. Reinders to Enzo, if you can do it as a direct move, yes, I do like it. I can see a lot of you guys are voting on my poll that I said about my team. A lot of you saying roll the transfer, which I'm tempted by myself. Do you think I should play bench boost while having Gabriel because everyone else has great fixtures? Yeah, look, bench boost, ideally you want the whole ensemble of the team, all 15 of them. But of course, if your team looks fantastic, then you can still take the bench boost option 100%. Like if you look at my team, this team ain't worth it. Like Stack, like who am I kidding that he's actually an option? Reinders, Anderson injured that. But if you've got a great bench boost and then Gabriel is just the one that's kind of like letting you down, if the team is great, then I would say just get it done, because all it takes is one player delivering on the bench boost and you're laughing. Look at last week. Dubravka, clean sheet, save point, bonus points, already carries the bench boost on its own. But in my scenario, it ain't worth it. If you've got Stack Anderson injured and a possibly injured Gabriel. No, no, no. You do not do it in my scenario here. And then you're really trying to rip up your team just to activate a bench boost. That just really is not worth it. So for me, I'm pretty set now in my thought process. I think I'm just going to roll my transfer. The only temptation for me is, of course, bringing in Saka as part of Gyökeres, but I think I'm just going to let it be with Gyökeres one more week. I think Crystal Palace are good regardless. And then in terms of the Enzo situation, I think if I could do Reinders to Enzo straight swap, I would. But I'm just trying to figure out where the funds to go to are, really. Just don't know if it's worth it going for Enzo this week with my team. Captain Semenyo, bad move or bold? Look, you absolutely can go there. 100% if you want to. However, let me just show you this. Okay. Expected goal involvement for Haaland. 1 against Everton. 0.3 against Brentford. Rubbish. 1.41, 0.53, 1.8, 1.4. Ridiculous. His numbers are a joke. His expected goal involvement per 90 is 1.22. It is ridiculous. If we look at Semenyo's expected goal involvement per 90, 0.52. So look, Semenyo could absolutely outscore Haaland this week, 100%. But am I seeing anything right now to suggest Haaland is not the captain? I don't think there is. I think that's the first question I always have to ask myself when you've got such a big captain who's just dominating each and every week. Has there become a moment where, oh, the fixture is so incredibly hard, or the player has dipped off enough for me to take it on? I don't think either of those are being answered or ticked this week. Maybe the Villa of old, but Villa right now, and having played on Thursday, just don't think it's worth taking it on myself. Yeah, people saying about Saka not pitching in training, I don't read too much into that myself. I really don't. If they were playing tomorrow, then possibly, but they're playing Sunday. I think there's loads of time for stuff. I just don't read as much into that as what others may do. Just on Twitter right now, just seeing if there's any other stuff that's being spoken about, because I want to make sure that if I talk about a player and then suddenly he's injured, then I'm not wasting my time a little bit. But yeah, it looks, apart from the Gabriel news and Saka not pitching in training, kind of usual stuff, really. Yeah, kind of usual stuff. Pedro to Voldemada. This week, it's fine. I think Voldemada outscores Pedro because Pedro's had 2 shots in the last 4 games. But I think you need to ask yourself, will the transfers be more useful in future weeks? That's it, really. So let's take a look at something else. Sell Richarlison to Mateta and Reinders to Enzo. I think that's great. Is Mateta good this week? I don't think so. But the 2 moves for the following week, fantastic. Like Enzo for this week, Mateta the following. I don't mind that. And the 2 players that you're selling aren't exactly lighting up the world right now. Do I think Tosin starts? Would you have Tosin or Lacroix first on bench? I don't really know about Tosin. Tosin is one of the better distributors from the back for Chelsea, but with Achiampong being on the bench last game for the Champions League, my anticipation, I would like to think in this situation that Achiampong comes in because I think he is really good as a youngster. I would be a little bit concerned about Tosin's minutes, I'm going to be honest with you. So that could be a great differential this week as West Ham can see the 6 goals versus centre midfielders against and doing it last week. Ooh, what a stat that is. What a stat. I'm going to make a note of that because that is the sort of detail that I love. And when you want to get some edges in the game, so I'm not just put it out there. I love it. I ain't playing stack. But I'm just going to make a note of that. And then, so 6 goals, CMs v West Ham. I'm going to make a note of that. Because that, I love that kind of stuff. That could be incredible insight. Who should I play? Jupe or Juve or Gui? I think you have to play Gui, whatever we want to call him. I think he starts, and I think he is a great differential this week. Is Saka out? I wouldn't read too much into those training photos, no. Antonio, I've seen that you've put a... I just seen that you've put in a super chat, but no question. So don't put another super chat. Just put in the question. I'll make sure to get to it. Oh, I think you've put something else here. Have the same team as you, but Foden, Mbuemo, and Mukiele instead of him, Rodon, and Dye and Bruno. Have 4 free transfers. What should I do? Well, if you got Foden, he played really well the previous game. I'll be tempted to keep Foden. Mbuemo, yep, great at home. I would keep him. And Mukiele, of course, is in a position. So if you've got the same team as me, barring that, then Raya starts, Senesi, Gabriel, Tarkowski, and Mukiele, I believe, is out with concussion. Am I right? Or was that Alderete? Let me just check. Oh, no. I think it's Alderete, isn't it? Alderete. Yeah. So it's Mukiele's fine. And then, of course, you've got Anderson injured. So you're in a spot where your defence is a little bit meh. But the rest of the team looks fine. 4 transfers. If Gabriel doesn't play, then, of course, you don't have a defender to cover Gabriel, which is not ideal. So, really, I think in your position, I would be looking at... probably just hoping for the best. I won't be selling Anderson. I'll just hope Gabriel starts, really, on that one, mate. And I don't think you need to force a transfer this week. I'm going to be honest with you. Sorry, I was just got to update a few people on my team a minute. Give me 2 seconds, because I think we're locked in. For those that are curious about my team, I'm pretty much locked in here. I think Enzo is fantastic, but I just don't think it's for me this week. Oh, God, apologies. Sorry, guys, give me 2 seconds. And I'm excited to roll it up to 5 free transfers, actually. Sorry, I'm just posting this in the chat a minute. Give me 30 seconds, guys. Sorry, if anyone's just jumped in, I'm just posting my team selection to the group just to make sure that I don't panic and move away from my team. Cool. Pin that. 24 hours. Cool. Right, let's get back into the chat. If Steve or Gahey, I would start probably Steve, to be honest with you. Sam, thank you for the super chat there. Start Vardy out or Rodon. Look, I think if you have Vardy out, I think I would go Vardy out. I'm going to be honest. I think I would go Vardy out and just back Man City to get the job done. I think if you're paying that much money in a fixture, which is tough, but I think I would start Vardy out myself. Should I take a -4? Xavi for Enzo or Reinders for Ndai? Well, if you're going to take a minus for that, I probably would do that. Xavi to Enzo move myself. Yes, I think we will start against Sunderland. Bench boost with Calvert-Lewin, Raya, Welbeck, and Reece James on my bench. Yes, I would get that done 100%. I think that's really, really good. Lucas, should I get Krupi or Calvert-Lewin for my FPL draft this week? I would go for your draft. Probably Krupi still. Would I bench boost stack Gabriel and Goodmanson? If you are happy to take the risk with Gabriel, it all comes down to your risk appetite, to be honest with you on that one. Is Chalobah nailed? No, I don't think he is nailed. I think he's been a little bit clumsy at times. I think he's a great defender, but I think Maresca's got options. Maybe not best options, but Hato can play there. He's probably right at the bottom of the selection. Achiampong's established himself. Tosin, of course, in that scenario there. Barishile when he does return, but he's obviously out right now. Fofana is back available. So I don't think Chalobah is nailed. I don't think it's Chalobah +1. I think at any moment it could be a different combination. But Chelsea do need to, if they're serious about landing top 4, they need to just get a centre-back pairing and just crack on with it. Colwell's injury, I spoke about this the moment it happened, completely derailed Chelsea. I don't think people are actually appreciating how good Colwell is. He would be starting for England. I'm certain of it if he was available. I think he's that good. Anyone that's watched him live, his distribution is one of the best in the league as a centre-back. His line-breaking passes are some of the best in the league. I know I'm rambling, but I'm just wanting to make sure people realise that the Colwell injury is as significant as Van Dijk getting injured for Liverpool, as Saliba getting injured for Arsenal, as De Ligt for Man United. No, I'm joking on that one, of course. But what I'm trying to say is I'm not saying Colwell's better than Gabriel or Saliba or Van Dijk, but his influence on this Chelsea team is on par, 100%. And I would argue Colwell's distribution is better than both. But I'm going to keep that quiet. Could I pick one to start out of? Minter, Enzo, or Mateta? Well, you're not even deliberating Enzo, you start him. But how good is your team that you're having to bench Minter and Mateta, Charlie? Let me know who your other players are starting. Who do I reckon is a better option off the bench for Gabriel? Goodmanson or Gui? I would play the attacker all day. It'd be Gui. Be Gui all day. I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if West Ham beat Leeds. Like, I rate Nuno as a manager. Big time. I think this West Ham team's crap. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Nuno's probably walked in and gone, oh my God, what have I actually got here? Like, this team is awful. But if anyone's going to get them going, it is Nuno. But that West Ham team, when you actually look at it on paper, is pretty drab. Start Xhaka, Sarr, Richards. I would always lean towards. So Richards offers the defensive contributions 100%. And I would play Richards over Xhaka. But Sarr versus Richards comes down to what kind of manager you are. I personally would be just going Sarr. Just get it done. And hope that he hits Arsenal on the counter. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Go to with 5 free transfers, achievement unlocked. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, just to give you guys a context for anyone that maybe has joined the chat, just to kind of go through current plans. This is how my team's looking, and like I said, I am looking to possibly roll a transfer. I've kind of broken up my possible moves this week into different categories. So originally it was how can I bench boost this week? The Gabriel potential injury and Anderson's injury has basically got rid of a bench boost for me. So that's gone. So then the next kind of round of transfers is, do I want to do the Gyökeres to Krupi stack to Saka move? And I really do like it, but do I feel it in my gut right now to make that move? No, because I still think I need to understand the situation between Saka versus Gyökeres. I'm 90% sure it's Saka, but it's just, is it necessary this week against a Crystal Palace team that are really good? No. I think if Saka outscores Gyökeres by 10 points, it is what it is. But I just don't think I've seen enough yet to make me do 2 free transfers this week. So that's gone. So the next move I've got to ask myself is, well, do I want to do the Enzo move? Do I want to do it? And I do want to make the move. Reinders for the next 4 or Enzo, it's a no-brainer for me. It's Enzo. But with the starting 11 that I currently have, like I've spoken about, if I get rid of Reinders, I need to free up. Sorry, buying Reinders. Sell Reinders, bring in Enzo. Then, where am I getting the 0.2 million from? If we talk about the players that are cash cows, it's Tarkowski. It's Bruno, but I'm not selling Bruno. It's Gyökeres, but I'm not selling Gyökeres as part of this Enzo move. I'd have to make lots of transfers. It's Anderson, but I don't like anybody below that price point. So it would be Tarkowski. And if we remove Tarkowski out and then we come to the fixture screen in a minute. I got 5.3 million to spend. Let's take a look at a 6-game week period because lots can happen between now and then. Lots and lots. Brighton currently top. Then remember, they have to play this week for me as well. Do I want to play them away against Man United? Not really. And then they got Leeds, Palace, Chelsea. But who is the Chelsea defender to go to? It just doesn't really exist right now, especially in the price range that I'm looking at. Arsenal are out of my equation. Palace are definitely on my radar. But again, do I want to bring them in this week? Well, I can do so, but it's not fantastic. Man United, Newcastle, yeah, don't mind Newcastle. But once again, who is the defender to go to? And I do think quickly Forest are going to become options for us. So really it comes down to Richards, Michael Keane, or I go really rogue and go for a Newcastle defender. So with 5.3 million available, you know, it's either Richards, you bring him in, you start him away against Arsenal. It's not ideal. And then really, if I look at the game week summary, Reinders who would be benched versus Enzo. Enzo will outscore Reinders. But then Tarkowski versus Richards, I'd say Tarkowski outscores Richards. So is the overall net move worth it? Well, Enzo's got a lot of heavy lifting there, I do believe. So I just think Enzo's kind of bamboozling my head a little bit. And I do just think, really, the best move is just to stick to my guns, really, and probably roll the transfer. Roll the transfer. If you guys have been listening to that last 2 minutes, let me know in the chat what you would do. Let me know what your thoughts are. Would you make a particular move at all? Am I missing anything in particular? I would start Goodmanson over Esteve myself. Raya and Reinders to Enzo and Pope. Is that for me? I don't mind that move. I don't hate that move. Raya to Pope. But the problem is, if Gabriel doesn't play, I've got no Arsenal exposure in that team, which is a little bit of a concern. Ollie, should you start your Leeds defender over anyone? Ollie, we're just getting your team up again. I probably would have Leeds defender first sub, to be honest with you, in that scenario. And then he could come in for Gabriel if he doesn't play. That's probably the way I would look at it. Isak to Voltamada, yes, I don't mind that. I think Isak is just not one to invest in right now, I'm going to be honest with you. Not one to invest in. Charlie saying if in doubt, roll, and that's kind of what I'm... That's what I'm planning, really. Esteve or Goodmanson, or just play with 10 if Gabriel is out. Yeah, I don't love the idea of playing with 10 if Gabriel's out, but also, do I think the transfers that you're on about are really going to give you huge returns? Not really. So maybe just having the fingers crossed with Gabriel is that scenario. Trez is saying, do I sell Van der Ven to a better defender to start over Sarr and Richards? Who you recommend, or should I just start a Palace play? Yeah, I think I'll just start Richards if I want to shoot, or Sarr. I think it's what it is. Sometimes you don't really know what's going on. I probably would just start the Palace defender and hope for the best. Start Minter or Paqueta this week. I think I probably would just lean towards Paqueta, but I think Minter obviously is a bit more of an explosive asset, but I think Paqueta's got more avenues to points. Yeah, Jonah, I honestly think the main reason why I just want to get to 5 transfers. Like, what a place to be. 5 transfers. It's just the holy grail, really, isn't it? Like, just for proof. 4 transfers, 0.8 million in the bank. I don't even really want to look at the next week, to be honest with you, because what this week has shown that so much can happen. Like, Anderson was going to be starting, Gabriel, all this, and in the space of a couple of games, you know, injuries happen, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, my team's cooked. So it's all well and good planning stuff in the future, but really, so much happens in the game that it just doesn't really make a lot of sense to plan too far in advance. What happens if Haaland gets injured on the weekend? I mean, we're all just going to be ripping up our teams, aren't we? So, yeah, I personally think rolling the transfer just gives me loads of flexibility. And the sooner I get to 5, the sooner I can just make 1 transfer if I want to. I don't have to force a move every single time, you know. It just gets me in a really strong position that, like, hopefully sustainably I can just tick over with these green arrows really nicely, because I literally just had green arrow, green arrow, green arrow, but very small incremental growths that have got me to 1.2. Do I think this team gets a green arrow this week? It needs a lot. It basically needs, you know, it's going to need a little bit of help to get there. Guys, I'm just going to have to quickly pop up my team a minute for some people. Give me a second. Give me 2 seconds. Give me 9. Team selection. Just post that. See if that's posted. Don't think it has. Sorry guys, I'm just making sure I've posted up my team, but it doesn't look like it's gone up, annoyingly. Let me just try again. Sorry guys, if you're watching this right now, it's terrible content, but I'm just making sure Patreons have my team selection, that's all. Just edit the post. It's probably because my signal's so bad. Cool. Cool, done. Sorry about that, guys. I'm back. And Daitako, Stack, Goodmanson, which one would you start? I mean, I would want to start in Die out of that. If I had to start one, it would be in Die, but obviously you are taking a little bit of a risk there with some of the players that you are putting on your bench. You love flexibility. 5 free tries is a dream. Yes, I do agree. Would you take a -4 for a bench boost? Depends on what the player is you're bringing in. Jamie saying, wow, you're starting Road on Tarkowski over Reinders. I was debating the bench of the 2 defenders. Didn't consider Reinders. Yeah, I think Reinders is a bit of a minutes risk. I'm going to be honest with you. Come off at 58, 75. Wouldn't be surprised if he's benched. I'm going to be honest. Wouldn't be surprised if he's benched. And his time is coming to an end, I think, soon. I think you might want him back here. But who's to say, you know, like, certain players don't just get rotated. I think they got options now, Man City. That's the big thing. They got options available to them. I basically this week just need Enzo not to do well. And I'm a Chelsea fan. So I do kind of feel like I don't really care if Enzo does well because I'm a Chelsea fan. So as long as Chelsea win, if Enzo does the business, it is what it is, really. I'm kind of winning regardless in that scenario. But yeah, I do feel like Enzo is the one that will hurt me this week, definitely. He's definitely the one that will hurt me. Unable to send you a super chat is giving me an error. Do not worry about that at all, my friend. Just put the question in here. I'll make sure to answer it. Krupi Jr., Rodon or Gabriel, who to bench? I think if you own Krupi, you got to start him. So I'd bench Rodon in that one and then have him first sub. And if Gabriel doesn't play, then he comes in for him, really. Nikolai saying start 10 between these. I don't even know where the question is. Start 10? There ain't even 10 here. Mark Gui, Kudus, Richards, Goodmanson, Dewsbury Hall, Senesi. Who to start? Well, I definitely would start Senesi. I'd definitely start Mark Gui. And then it comes down to a shootout between the others. I'd probably start Goodmanson over Richards and I'll start Kudos over Dewsbury Hall. Best Evan Nielsen replacements, excluding Haaland and Gyökeres. It comes down to what strategy you want. You either go down to Mark Gui, Krupi, free up the funds to invest elsewhere in your team, or you do Evan Nielsen to like Voldemada, for example, or Mateta in game week 10. Who to bench between Mintet, Reinders, and Ndai? I probably would bench Reinders, to be honest with you. Were your 5 free transfers next week? I recommend looking ahead to like game week 12, 13, because some big teams go on nice runs of fixtures, e.g. Chelsea. Yeah, so that was something that like I spoke about previously a couple of weeks back about when we are looking at fixtures, it's really important to have kind of windows where, you know, you want. So for example, if we just take a look at a 4 game week rolling average, okay. So right now you can see City and Liverpool are slap bang at the bottom, okay? This is between game weeks 9 and 12. Arsenal, Chelsea at the top, and then you've got the middling teams. If we keep going through the weeks, so 10 to 13, you see City still rock bottom, but you can see that Leeds game just sneaking up in game week 13, and you can see Liverpool, suddenly that West Ham game's come in. Then if we jump to game weeks 11 and 14, we still got the Liverpool City game here, which is not great, but you can see Leeds and then Fulham. And with Liverpool, you see West Ham and Sunderland. And then when we jump to game week 12 to 15, remember AFCON is after game week 15. Straight away, you look at the top of the chart. Liverpool are right up there, and so too Man City. Now, these aren't cheap teams to invest in, but you're going to want a piece of them. And that also doesn't mean Reinders is worth holding just for that, because so much can change between now and then. You holding Reinders just to get to game week 13, he might be not the guy anymore, and you've held him for that long thinking it's worth it. I know it's rich coming from me where I'm looking to roll my transfer, but it's not doing so thinking that Reinders is there for the long term at all. So I do think this is a good option, keeping the transfers in the bank and almost allowing yourself the opportunity to pivot in game week 12 and go Liverpool, go City. And from game week 13, even a bit of Newcastle if you really wanted to go there. Bournemouth remain great regardless, really. Right, guys. I'm actually going to have to wrap this up in a minute. Because, don't worry about sending a super chat, mate. That is it's too generous. Do not worry about that, my friend. I've got to wrap it up because I've got to jump on a TikTok in a minute. So if we just do like a 2-minute quick Q&A, I'll try and blitz through them. If I miss any, I do apologise. So I'm going to start from Andrew because I spoke about Ollie's question there, and then we're going to wrap it up. So drop them in. I'm going to do 2 minutes. Whatever I can get out, I will. So Hi mate, should I play Xhaka or sell Reinders for Enzo when I start him? If you can do Reinders to Enzo straight move, yes, I would do that and start him. Irfan saying, who to bench between Mintet, Reinders and Ndai? I would bench Reinders. Linus, I have Alderete, who of course is missing from concussion. Anderson and Gabriel, 4 free transfers. Do I risk that Gabriel starts? Gabriel, not sure what that means, Linus. I would start Gabriel and hope for the best. Yeah, otherwise you could make a move defensively, but it doesn't sound great. I probably would try and not sell Anderson. Otherwise, Anderson to Richards or a Michael Keane. Prang is Mash. Would you take a -4 on a bench boost? Currently have 2 free transfers. What to do? Van der Ven to James, then considering Foden is stacked to something like Pedro Neto and Rutter. Don't love the Pedro Neto move myself. James I like, but also I don't think he offers much from a defensive contributions perspective. Vedate saying he looked like Ben Stokes. Never had that one before. Reinders to Ndai, yay or nay. Bench is okay with Gui and Stack. Yeah, it's fine. I don't mind that move. I do prefer Ndai over the next 4 than that of Reinders. Bench 3, Mark Gui, no. Kudus, Richards, Gudmundsson, Dewsbury Hall, Senesi. Very simple for me. Richards, Dewsbury Hall, and I prefer Kudus to Gudmundsson, I'm going to be honest. Hey mate, need help here. Should I bench boost with Gabriel, Tarkowski and 2 leads on the bench? I like it, but of course, just remember, Gabriel is a slight doubt. If you're happy to take that risk, then do it. Dyche impacting Bournemouth attackers, possibly, but maybe not this week off the back of a Thursday night game in Europe. Well, at home, but in the European competition. Gordon or Michele. Godon? Rodon? I would start Rodon. Stack, Van der Ven, Reinders, Rodon, Tarkowski and Ndai. Which 3 should I start and which 3 should I bench? Well, let's just go to the ones that I think you have to play. I'd play Tarkowski, I'd play Ndai, and then I'd play Rodon and bench Van der Ven and Reinders myself. Last question from Harry. Can you summarise the important bits from the live? Well, I don't know if I can do all of that. Right. Gabriel, don't buy, don't sell, play. He either starts or he gets 0 minutes. Make sure your bench is actually locked in. I'll tell you what. A few bits here. I would wait until game week 10 to buy Mateta. I think game week 9 against Arsenal is not great, and he played 90 minutes midweek. I don't think you should do Gyökeres Saka this week. We have no clarification on the penalty taker. I do think Saka is better than the long-term pick, but Palace are a good team. Do I think the huge swings of this week? Not really. João Pedro, I'll keep for 1 more week, but he's had 2 shots in the last 4 games. If he blanks once again, you can sell him knowing that you have given everything to that man. Best cheap forward for me, Mark Gui. I prefer to Krupi this week, but I think Krupi is a better long-term pick as there's a chance he might actually continue to get minutes. I think Mark Gui's day is done once the lap is back. Keep or sell Reinders. Look, I think if you can do Reinders to Enzo, get it done. For me, it takes multiple transfers to get there, and then it's a bit of a different story. But if you can do directly Reinders to Enzo, get it done. Right. Finite. We're done. That's my team. I'm locked in. I'm just going to play it and hope for the best. Have a great game week, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you can on the way out, hit that subscribe button. Hit a like. Always massively appreciated. I'll be on TikTok in case you want to check out some more content. But importantly, have a good weekend. Don't let FPL ruin your weekend. And I will see you for probably a review Sunday morning going through the game so far. So take care, guys, and I'll see you in the next one or on the review session. Right. Cheers, guys. Take care.